got to earn your liberation.
And I will say, if we can, I'll share this one too, because I thought this was entertaining as well. It might cause some consternation with some of our reverse hashtag friends, but a new study from the National Bureau of Economic Research says that immigration is saving the American economy. And long story short, during his presidency, Trump imposed significant restrictions on legal immigration, arguing that new arrivals displace American workers and reduce wages. In 2023, the U.S. economy grew at a 2.5% rate. Since February 2020, there has been no net job growth among native-born Americans. One reason is that native-born workforce is flat or shrinking. Baby boomers are retiring and birth rates remain low. The study concluded that immigrants raise wages and boost the employment of U.S.-born workers. The study found that immigration, thanks to native immigrant complementarity and college skill content of immigrants, had a positive and significant effect between 1.7 to 2.6% on wages of less educated native workers over the period 2000 to 2019, and no significant wage effect on college-educated natives. So if you are a non-college educated American-born citizen over the last 20 years or so, legal immigration has offered you a net positive impact of roughly 1.7 to 2.6% on wages, even if you did not yourself go to college, and had no effect on those who did go to college. So the idea that people are taking jobs of American citizens, including black and brown citizens already here, is part of the fallacy. And then I did look it up, by the way, just to confirm, and less than 10% of immigrants in this country are so-called illegal. So the fact that this study focuses on quote-unquote legal immigration makes the so-called illegal immigration irrelevant, particularly when we're talking about its impact on working people here, because the net impact of the so-called legal immigration has benefited American-born so-called native workers as such there, in part because immigrants are not simply workers, but consumers. And of course, this is a 70% consumer-based economy, so that consumption helps. The ability of immigrants to spur growth overall helps explain why immigration has a positive employment rate effect for most native workers, according to this NBER studies. In other words, immigrants are not taking jobs from native-born workers, as Trump claims. They are facilitating economic growth and creating more jobs for everyone.
Are they using that what's it, Tariq Hassan from Boston U College? I did see that.
In terms of for which part?
For the I guess the data that shows that the immigrants help the economy.
I can't claim to have vetted the actual study, so I don't know. I haven't gotten that far with it, so
yeah,
I can't.
I was just looking it up. I saw this thing right here. I don't know if this the person who did it, but Boston College.
Is meaning, what would that mean?
No, I was just curious if that's who they were using. This is the second time I saw something like that, and I was just curious who, like what's who.
Well, there's been, honestly, I remember in grad school, shout out to the late great Dr. James Turner. I mean, in one of his classes, I was introduced not only to the history of the Bracero program, but to some of variations of this kind of research going back, at least to my memory, that roughly 20 plus years ago. So there's been similar arguments made for a long time because one, it should be noted that when reports say something is good for the economy, what they're really, I think it's best to understand that to mean is that it's good for those who own the businesses and the who own the economy, who own the means of production and benefit most from the wealth created from that. But this article is apparently the study is also saying specifically beyond that, just the broad helping of the economy, which does not necessarily mean anything good for working people, particularly Black people, that I think that they actually focus specifically on the impact on wages over that time period is important because it's not true that employment is hurt by so-called illegal, or rather immigration of any kind. And the illegal immigration, so-called, is such a small percentage, relatively speaking, that, and where I've also even seen how they benefit the economy as well through consumption and, of course, cheap labor as well. So, but yeah, I just thought that was a fascinating, little reminder for folks who might be paying attention to that this idea that we should be pitted against one another when we don't own or benefit from
this data and facts ought to change the mind, because most Americans who oppose immigration do it on the basis of concern for economic indicators.
That's what I was going to ask. Where, if
not
any of
racism, not jingoism, not nationalism.
If any of y'all been invited to do this poll
and
say what
bigotry,
concerns are,
not ethnocentrism. So yeah,
no, I have not. No.
Because
and the white masses have always been known and depended on to vote their economic interests, to vote in favor of their own economic interests. So yeah, this is going to turn things around. It's a new day in America. We did it.
So you don't agree with that most important issue up here? These are the most important issues the survey did on a Gallup poll. Immigration's at the top. At the bottom is healthcare. People not really worried about healthcare, right?
Yes, but again, I don't agree with that. Number one, I think that again, that's what's being pushed in the conservative and right-wing media. You have people out here. I think it was Walter. Are you guys familiar with Walter Masterson? He's a comedian, and he goes out to Trump rallies and he says, ask the white folks, the Trump supporters, the Trump cultists, what's your number one issue? And he says immigration is the number one problem in America. And he asked them, how have you personally been affected by the immigrant invasion and the onslaught and deluge of immigrants? And not one of them has a story how they are personally affected by immigration. So who was the scholar that said, the European sociologist that said it's impossible to underestimate the stupidity of the American voting public?
Walter Masterson is a wow.
Wasn't that, what's his name? Yeah, that helps. The one who was reviewing the early formation of this country.
Right. Yeah. The Tocqueville.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a nation, or better, let's Kwame Ture, because they get mad at us for quoting white folks, Marx. Kwame Ture said, American capitalism system not only makes people stupid, it makes them arrogant in their stupidity.
You got to earn your liberation.